Yeah, thank you, Tyler, for inviting us, and we're pleased to see so many folks interested in speaking to not only Rocky Mountain Power, but my colleague, Rita Meyer. I believe she has either joined us or will be joining us shortly, as she is TerraPower's Wyoming executive representative here, who is handling the education and the ongoing outreach and communications for the new Natrium project. So what we thought we would like to do is really just open the floor up to questions. There's a lot of questions that folks may have about transitioning energy economy in Wyoming, our integrated resource plan, coal transition relationships and outreach with communities, as well as Rita answering any questions about the TerraPower project. So with that, I'd be happy just to ask those of you who are interested in or do have any questions or would like to start a conversation to please unmute yourself. And also, if you wouldn't mind, as a courtesy, activate your camera so we can see who we're speaking with. But I would also like for you to introduce yourself and what organization you're with before we get started with your questions. So I'll open the floor up.
Nobody wants to talk.
Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia. I work for Powder River Energy Corporation. And the question I have is, what does the power plant in Glen Rock, Wyoming look like in the next 10 years? What's its plan?
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for that question. Our latest integrated resource plan, and specific to the Daveston Power Plant, for those of you who may not be familiar, Rocky Mountain Power has 4 coal-fired power plants or relationships and operations with 4 power plants. We have the Jim Bridger Power Plant and mine in Point of Rocks, Wyoming, which is in Sweetwater County. We have the Naughton Power Plant in Kemmerer, Wyoming. And then we have the partnership with the Wyodak plant in Gillette. And then, as Cynthia had mentioned, the Daveston Plant in Glen Rock, Wyoming. Currently, our most recent integrated resource plan indicates that Daveston units 1 through 4 are scheduled to transition in 2027. For those of you who maybe are not familiar with a regulated utility and how they operate, regulated utilities file integrated resource plans every 2 years. It's our form of a roadmap on the infrastructure and the resources that we need to continue providing safe, reliable energy to our customers. So with that, the Daveston Power Plant in Glen Rock, Wyoming has been identified for transition units 1 through 4 in 2027. Cynthia, do you have any other follow-up questions?
Yes, when you talk about transition, give me more specific. Transition to close it completely, transition to move it into a green way, or just what do you mean? Because that's 3 communities that'll be hugely impacted.
Yeah, well, as many of you may be familiar, there's legislation that is requiring us to either sell the coal-fired power plants or consider retrofits and also new technologies. So there are discussions and requests for information that are out there for companies that are interested in carbon capture sequestration, carbon capture utilization and sequestration. So again, those conversations continued, but it is scheduled for closure in 2027. But we are also very aware of the legislature, the legislation that that will abide by to evaluate what the plant closure looks like and any transitions that may make sense for our customers.
I lost that last part. You went completely quiet.
Oh, so again, we will be evaluating any technologies that will be required by legislature for any retrofits or any requirements to extend the life of that plant. But again, it is scheduled for closure in 2027 at this time. And I believe also Rita Meyer, TerraPower's executive representative in Wyoming, has joined us. So if any of you do have questions about the Natrium project, please feel free to pipe up. She's now with us.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. This is Robin Cooley, Director of Workforce Services. And thank you, Sharon, so much for Rocky Mountain Power's support and sponsorship of the summit. I wonder if you and Rita may speak to us about the effects that you're projecting on the workforce in Wyoming. We've had a lot of discussion today, in fact, about workforce. Where is the workforce? The one I just was at was the vanishing workforce. And of course, we've all heard and read the articles about that right now. So if you could speak maybe to that issue and efforts being made in that regard, I think that'd be wonderful. Thank you. I'm getting a feedback there somewhere.
Yeah, I think Sam joined us. Go ahead.
Sharon, if you want to start, you're on one side of it and I'm kind of on the other. So though we are inextricably linked with everything we do on the TerraPower side, the Pacific Corp side. So Sharon, if you want to start and then I'll pick it up from there. You've worked this for a number of months.
Yeah, thank you, Rita, and thank you, Director Cooley, for the question. We truly appreciate that discussion being on the forefront of folks' minds today and throughout the day, not only safety, but the workforce transition. What we've recognized is that, as many of you know, our thermal generation workforce and our energy workers are a very valuable part of Wyoming. And what we're looking at is through this transition, as Rocky Mountain Power schedules the closure of power plants, what we've done to support that workforce, the potential of reskilling, is on several levels. So first, we have adjusted our policy that was originally outlined that if we did have employees that were impacted by a coal plant or mining closure, or any employees that were interested in additional education, the original policy outlined that the education had to be related to energy or their job for reimbursement. We've waived that policy now. So any of the team members that are impacted by the coal transition or closure of our Bridger underground mine are now eligible for reimbursement regardless of the curriculum that they're evaluating and taking part in. We're also providing a hiring preference program. So any impacted employees that are interested in additional positions within PacifiCorp will receive a hiring preference and also an interview preference for those available positions. We also have opportunities for relocation. We've had a couple of our employees from Jim Bridger who have taken on new positions, which is exciting for them. It's a different type of work, but we're pleased that they've decided to stay with us. But also specific to the Jim Bridger mine, underground mine, that is scheduled for closure towards the end of the year. We've invited in several different industries in Southwest Wyoming for job fairs to introduce those team members that are impacted to those industries that are hiring. The Trona industry, some of the other large industrial customers in Southwest Wyoming, so we can help them find a new home within Wyoming. And there is also a component that our HR group has been involved in, which is bi-monthly conference calls and webinars on not only resume creation, but sharpening the interview skills for those who want to pursue new positions outside the company. So we have several plans in place to support the transitioning energy workers, and we're finding that several of them are taking advantage of that opportunity, and we're supporting them through that process. Director Cooley, does that answer your question? Or Rita, would you like to add to that, please?
Most certainly, Sharon, thank you. And I would just say TerraPower is absolutely very interested in hiring those workers from PacifiCorp, from the mines, because you know, while even though the support for a nuclear power reactor in the site itself doesn't use the same number of employees, the ratio is a little different than it is in the mining sector and in the plant generation side because of advanced technologies. We also realize, you know, it's several years before this plant is stood up, that there will also be attrition in this Pacific Corp, folks that are already on the payroll there. And Sharon and I were just talking about this today. You know, we have an aging workforce, or Pacific Corp has an aging workforce like many industries today. So I would just say on the Terra Power side, we are very anxious to hire because we know those Pacific Corp folks are great workers. We know Wyoming folks in general are great workers. We look forward to the retraining process, and we know we can't start that yet because we're not sure what capabilities are really needed, but that will become more clear as we work through the process of getting the permitting done and other things that needed done to be done to make this a reality. So yeah, so we realize not only are we going to need the existing workforce inside of Pacific Corp that has been, you know, has taken care and operated the generation plants, but also the mines have supported those plants. So we're really looking forward to that. Sharon has been working really hard and talked to community colleges and others around the state, just kind of getting ready and thinking about what is going to be needed in the future. I was just on the phone this morning with the Nuclear Energy Institute. Terra Power had lined me up with them to discuss, talk about the project. And in fact, they were talking about I was talking to them about the ratio of employees that are needed in a coal generation plant, a mining operation versus in a nuclear power plant, and even the uranium mines that support would eventually support the fuel needs of these generators, nuclear power reactors. You know, those are in situ mines, and they don't employ the same number of folks ratio-wise that a coal mine does. So a lot of those things are different, but I was talking about that, and they have a paper, Sharon. I haven't even had time to talk to you about a white paper that'll be coming out here probably by the end of next month that she will share with me and with you that talks about the ratio of employees as we transition and change to a different kind of workforce. So I think this, I'm really bullish on Wyoming. I'm bullish on this new opportunity. I see the Terra Power project as kind of a new kind of anchor tenant in the state. But so I don't just think about the employment that surrounds the nuclear power plant itself, or even the long-term mining needed to support the fuel supply side of that. But I see the other kinds of extraordinary opportunities, possibilities for the state that that this generation plant will draw to the state of Wyoming, because frankly, it's a workforce with some pretty high level skills in all kinds of sciences and et cetera, and mathematics. So I think that bodes well for kind of moving Wyoming up to a different plane in terms of its workforce.
Thank you for that. And I will add, I was just on a call yesterday, and the Idaho National Lab was on the call, and they started talking about some of the opportunities and the experiences, even from starting in high school with the boot camps on their site and getting kids excited and interested in these types of jobs, all through community colleges and the university, and the options that are available to assist, that the INL really wants to assist with, to help really develop that pipeline of workforce in Wyoming. So it's pretty exciting opportunity. But I am going to hit you up for the all-important question about where is this plant going to go? Are we going to know here pretty soon?
We will know by the end of the year for sure, and I think probably even in advance of that. Core sampling is being done at the sites that were previously outlined. Those are the 4 coal generation sites operated by Pacific Corp. But core sampling is being done. If it hasn't started yet, it will be started very soon. Once that's kind of the final piece in all of this, to look at that whole substructure in terms of what a nuclear power plant requires, what is expected of the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, in terms of what those site soils look like. So as soon as that's done, and there's been an opportunity for the engineers and geologists and everyone else to evaluate that, we will know the answer to that question. So I would look forward to an announcement sooner rather than later. So we are very excited about that.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I will open it up to everyone else. I've got all kinds of questions, but I know everybody else has as well. So please join in.
I want to say just one thing too, Robin, that I will be making an outreach to the Job Corps in Riverton as well in the future, because there's another opportunity, there's another site that does training. So in addition to the community colleges, and Sharon has had a very, very active role in leaning out and working with them, the University of Wyoming, we've met with them a number of times, Job Corps, I think there's plenty of feeder sites for the workforce of the future for this reactor. And the other jobs that, as you know, and you're starting to hear from INL and other places, as this becomes an anchor tenant, the other kind of jobs that will absolutely follow along with the stand-up of this of the Natrium project.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. A great idea. And I know we've got a lot of people here from our agency that are located around the state in some of those workforce centers. So they will be listening intently, so that when individuals that are dislocated workers come into their offices, they're ready, willing, and able to direct them to some of these opportunities. So thank you for that. Other questions?
I would just say, Robin, that Sharon and I are only a phone call away. And as I said, while we kind of work both sides of this issue, we're really linked at the hip. And if Sharon hears something, she shares it with me. If I hear something, I hear it with Sharon. So if you're talking to one or the other of us, please know we'll be sharing that information. And we just invite phone calls, we invite questions, so that we can get questions answered sooner than later. The one thing we don't want to happen is people saying, well, who do we call? Because if there's a specific question that we can't answer, trust me, with the Rolodexes, which I guess we don't even call those Rolodexes anymore, old term. I'm an old lady, but we'll know where to reach in and get the information that's needed. And please know how much we appreciate your leadership, Robin, and that of all the great people around the state working workforce services, because you are really the backbone all the time. But especially now, as Wyoming looks to a new energy future, the work you do is going to be front and center in getting this economy stabilized and growing again.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for that, Rita. And I just also want to put a plug in here. We've been talking so much about these EDA Good Jobs challenges. And I think that maybe starts a great opportunity for a discussion around this very issue and putting together really a plan forward for Wyoming that maybe gets started with some of those funds. So we'll get that discussion started and rope you in on that if you're available, both of you.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to see what the state has come up with in submission of that application to support, the growth in the energy industry in Wyoming. So I would encourage not only workforce team members, but the community members to keep an eye out for, economic development administration opportunities, matching grant funds to take part in diversification studies and execute those economic diversification studies, Director Cooley, as well as any funding from the EPA on brownfield redevelopment, development of industrial sites. There's a lot of opportunities there, and I would encourage folks to reach out to maybe the Business Council and maybe even some of their nearby counties that have their grant writers, because there is a tremendous amount of funding out there through the federal government as we enter some of the energy changes here in the state.
I would just say reinforce that what Sharon has said, because there is a lot of money out there already. There is going to be more money in support of community transition. Sharon has an eye on a lot of it, but trust me, Robin, with your folks there in Workforce Services, we just encourage everybody to follow any lead for funding. Wyoming does not have a history of being as successful as I would like to see us be in drawing funds for training and other economic development opportunities. So this is a heavy lift, and it's going to need all of us working together as a team. And so just, no grant too big or too small. It might not always be a fit for this particular purpose, but don't leave any money on the table. Just make sure somebody is working it. Sometimes we think, oh, well, that's out there. Somebody's probably already applying for that. Not necessarily so, as Sharon and I are finding out. There's money there, and we don't, sometimes we're a little thin in terms of numbers of people to work those grants, but if we put our heads together and we know there's money in some specific location that simply requires some grant writing, trust me, in holding hands together, we can find out who can get that grant written. And I want to see Wyoming be more successful in dollars coming to this state for workforce development.
I am with you on that. I am reading articles about other states getting funding, and I don't know that their funding opportunities we even held our hand out to ask for. So I'm with you on that. All right. Any other questions? This is such an opportunity. Speak up if you need a little bit more information on this.
Thank you, Director Cooley, for taking over there.
I just find it fascinating, and I want more and more information, Ty. So I just had to take the opportunity.
I'm very glad that
And,
we're recording this conversation, because I've been having to kind of shuffle people to the next sessions and haven't been able to pay as close as attention as I would like to. I definitely want.
And Ty, before we wrap up, I would like to lead folks to the Midwest Governors Association's website. There is a coal transition economy blueprint. The final report will be out in December, but it's a tremendous number of recorded presentations and PowerPoints and information on available funding and some of the successful plans that other states have executed as their energy economies changed.
Do you have the link for that I can post into the chat?
I was going to ask that same question.
I'll get it right now.
And Sharon, did you already mention about the WyomingAdvancedEnergy.com, that website, as well as just TerraPower.com? You've probably already done that.
Rita, please do.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Really to follow along, and Pacific Core is really great about posting Q&As that we're getting from around the state, in fact, around the United States. And there's just a plethora of information. It's www.WyomingAdvancedEnergy.com. www.WyomingAdvancedEnergy.com. That is a wonderful resource site, and Sharon works hard in keeping that site updated. There's also just Terra Power, TERRA power.com, and you can kind of follow along with what's happening. And so those sites are great resources. And I would also say, Robin, as when the site announcement is made, you may start getting more questions from your folks out in the field, or folks in that particular community especially, and we would just be more than happy to help with that. And that may generate additional questions that Sharon and I are certainly most happy to answer.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that offer. We'll hit you up for that on that.
Tyler turned into a buffalo.
Wait. I'm sorry, I had to take a quick call from our next session. I'll be, and we will probably need to move to that next session in just a few moments here, but thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was just really great seeing, talking with everybody and Sharon and I stand ready to help support in any way deemed helpful to all of you.
Thank you all. It's always wonderful to speak with you.